It's been 15 years since a jet fuel leak at Kirtland Air Force Base came to light, but there has been no remediation and there is still no final plan in place. We begin our coverage with a somewhat controversial figure in the debate over the spill, Dave McCoy. He is president of Citizen Action New Mexico, a leading independent source of information on the issue. Mr. McCoy is a lawyer by trade, and he sat down with correspondent Floyd Vasquez in advance of our larger panel discussion with federal, state, and local officials.
Mr. McCoy, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, the Air Force and the New Mexico Environment Department declined to participate in a panel discussion with you as a representative of your group. Why do you think that is?
Well, they've declined to really have much discourse with the public at all in terms of their meetings. You go to them, they're very controlled. They want to control what information comes out, what gets questioned, how they respond to it. So there's a lot of misinformation that's been given out by both Kirtland and its contractors and to some degree the New Mexico Environment Department. So they don't like to be questioned about that or contradicted.
Now, is that why you have focused so much energy and time on this for quite a number of years now?
The reason we've focused a lot of time and energy on this is because we're concerned about the health and safety of Albuquerque residents. We believe that this problem can be so devastating to this community that something has to be done of an emergency nature and immediately, and we're not seeing that happen. So we're trying to inform the public about this and get them involved to make sure that something happens in terms of remediation.
Why is it an emergency? Go into that, talk about it.
It's an emergency because there's a very dangerous chemical called ethylene dibromide. This chemical is so toxic that it can contaminate 13 million gallons of water with a half teaspoon. Half teaspoon was in every gallon of the aviation gas that was spilled, and there were probably millions of gallons of aviation gas spilled. So this contaminant is long-lived. It is very soluble in the water, and it's only about 3,500 feet away from the municipal drinking water wells at this point in time. It's traveled 6,000 feet. It's 1,000 feet wide, and it's not been monitored properly. They don't know actually how long it is, how wide it is, how deep it is, or how fast it's moving. And so unless you can characterize the plume in those terms, you cannot come up with appropriate remedies to try and prevent this from reaching the municipal wells that supply our water.
Well, you know, there are experts who will say that they do have a good sense, a good handle of the size of the plume and what it's doing, and as well as the chemical that you speak of about they're aware of how dangerous it is. And while I think everyone thinks that it's very important and it's urgent, they don't speak of it in the same emergency terms that you're doing it. Now, why don't you trust what the officials are telling you?
Well, there's many reasons. Just from the beginning of this situation, they were supposed to have done pipeline testing. Instead of doing the pipeline testing, they issued waivers for it. They knew that there was leaking in 1992 at the pump house for the bulk fuels facility. They've mischaracterized then when they knew about it. They've mischaracterized the size of this plume. At first they claimed it was 157,000 gallons in the year 2000. That went up to 1 million to 2 million gallons in 2008. By 2010, they were talking about 8 million gallons. In 2012, they were talking about 24 million gallons of jet fuel and aviation gas being spilled. So these are enormous discrepancies and indicate how little they have really done to characterize the full size of this plume. Most of the monitoring wells that they've installed have been in a narrow area, and the Environment Department and numerous other experts have said that, well, there's a very large data gap between where they think the front of the plume might be and the municipal wells, and that needs to be studied. One of the things that they said was that ethylene dibromide would be disappearing at a rate of 10% a year. There's absolutely no scientific basis for that whatsoever to use in their modeling. So there's numerous data gaps that exist. They haven't been corrected, and we're urging the development of an independent scientific task force, probably through the National Academies of Science, to review this problem and come up with what they think could be immediate emergency measures to be put in place. And this is something the New Mexico legislature recommended that our congressional delegates take under their wing.
Well, and that happened just this year.
Yes.
Now, do you see a shift in the narrative around this story, a greater urgency by officials and others to get this problem under control?
Well, they speak of a great urgency, but then when you look at the actual actions by the regulatory agencies in Kirtland and their contractors, you don't see things that are being proposed or actually put into place that would lead to the kind of large-scale remediation that needs to take place here. Other than one small pump and treat test well, there hasn't been any of the contamination that's dissolved in the aquifer removed from the aquifer. Recently, Kirtland proposed a air sparging, which is like blowing bubbles in your milk when you were a little kid. And the Environment Department came out and said, hey, that's going to just spread the contamination further. So you get these plans that are submitted, the Environment Department comes back, says, no, that's not going to work. Well, what is going to work, and when is it going to work, and when is it going to be put into place to protect this city and its drinking water is our question.
Well, and what is the citizens' role in this matter?
Well, at this point, it should be probably pure panic about what their drinking water may contain.
Oh, but there's little to suggest that anyone is in any danger for at least years away. There seems to be a consensus that any of the immediate danger that you're talking about, that is contamination in the drinking water, is years off. Maybe not 30 years like the latest EPA report says, but it's certainly not going to happen in the next few months or even in the next few years. Isn't that correct?
Well, the Environment Department, going back to 2010, maintained that there needed to be a interim plan put in place to clean this up within 5 years. Going back about 2 to 3 years ago, Jim Davis, the Hazardous Waste Bureau chief, said it could be somewhere around the neighborhood of 5 years that it could arrive. And then more recently, the Environment Department said that based on modeling done by the EPA, they thought 5 to 7 years. I asked for that EPA report under a FOIA request, and then the EPA said, oh, well, 30 years, but then they cited all these different data gaps and uncertainties and everything that would have precluded them from even making a conclusion that it would be 30 years. And by the way, the New Mexico Environment Department still hasn't given me the data run that they claimed they reviewed to come up with a 5 to 7 year conclusion. So,
well, we're almost out of time. Any final points?
Well, this entire spill takes place in a greater context of contamination at both Sandia Labs and Kirtland Air Force Base, and the public should be aware that there is that larger picture. There's TCE contamination, nitrates contamination, radioactive contamination in unlined pits and trenches and dumps at Sandia Labs that aren't being taken care of. So it's a very large picture of contamination, not just the jet fuel spill.
Okay, and where can people find you for more information?
They can go to our website, www.radfreenm.org.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.